I would like to introduce Lily, who is a growth and transformation leader and coach. She is also the founder and executive director of Our Inner Sparks. Lily helps and supports individuals and organizations through development and transformation. Our Inner Sparks mission is to empower and enable all, especially women in need, to discover, embody, and share our inner sparks in successful growth and transformation. Welcome, Lily.
Thank you so much,
You're
Veronica,
welcome.
for that introduction.
Well,
I am so thrilled to be kicking off the Ignite Our Inner Sparks seminar series in partnership with Idea Exchange. Today, our panel discussion is actually a very vital topic. As we are learning in life, we face many changes and unexpected events. As we navigate through this, it's very important to keep top of mind. Your mindset has a lot to do with how successful you navigate through it. So thank you very much for you guys taking the time today to attend this critical discussion on maintaining healthy mindset and staying motivated. Before we get started, I would like to give a short introduction to our Inner Sparks. So we are a social enterprise. We offer products and services that enable and empower individuals and businesses to grow and transform so that they can reach their full potentials. And we dedicate a portion of all of our profits to social programs like this one. So ultimately helping many to get the opportunity to develop. You can get more information on our innersparks.com and on social programs, on product and services that supports the program as well. So feel free to do that. But this particular seminar series, we will be offering some workshops as well as panel discussions like this one to really give people not only inspiration to make changes in their lives, but also offer practical strategies for people to try as we make meaningful and sustainable changes in our lives. So without further ado, I would like to give an introduction to all of our guests as well today for our panel discussion and get that discussion started. So first, we would like to get Chelsi online, and I'm going to give Chelsi a little bit of introduction here. She is a she's the owner and head trainer. Sorry, messages popping up. I'm trying to think about how I'm responding while I'm talking here. She is the owner and head trainer of Whole Health, Strength and Fitness. Her new gym actually just opened up yesterday in Cambridge. So congratulations, Chelsi.
Thank you.
She is helping her clients to achieve lifestyle transformations through mainly weight loss and strength building. Chelsi is also very passionate in helping people recognizing and reaching their full potentials, also recognizing the greatness that lives within them. So welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Next up, Cheryl Himburg is a leadership coach and the founder of Key Element Solutions. Cheryl is an ambitious coach for your personal success and accomplished catalyst for your career and business growth. She is a certified mindset and leadership coach and keen on empowering her clients to shatter their own glass ceilings and achieve ambitious goals. So among many services, Cheryl is offering quarterly CEO days to support others in establishing and reaching their goals. And her next one happens to be tomorrow, I believe. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Next up, we have Kadeen Cooper. She is a career transition coach and networking specialist and strategist. She has recently spoke at the MBA Prep Camp Canada to support others in the process of business school admission into Canada. And Kadeen's goal is to encourage and inspire others to be more honest with themselves and work towards ideal career goals, desires, and aspirations. And she believes everyone has the potential to find work that will play with their strengths and light them up. So awesome job. Thank you very much, Kadeen, for joining. Last but not least, we have Laura Teuch. She is an accredited music therapist and a qualified registered psychotherapist. She has recently opened up her practice called Spread Your Wings Music Therapy. She loves working with youngsters and adults alike. Spread Your Wings' vision is to provide treatment in enjoyable and motivating environment, allowing everyone to connect with their creative selves, thereby increasing and maintaining well-being. So ladies, thank you so much for joining us out over your lunch hours and shedding light on this critical topic of healthy mindset. Appreciate all your support. As you guys, the audience, have noticed, I am the moderator of the session. With that said, we will soon take a break from my voice. I will now start to ask some questions, and each panelist will take turns taking the lead to answer these questions. So we'll get started with our first question. Recognizing that our world is changing so much in so many ways due to COVID-19, I know many are feeling huge impact in their lives, whether it's finance or lifestyle or career, right? So there's so much going on. Would each of you be able to share with us what you've observed in the work that you do and among your network as well? What is the biggest challenge you have seen in maintaining the healthy mindset for people in these trying times? I'm going to start with Cheryl on this question.
Okay, so I do a lot of work with individuals. I'm also a certified neurolinguistics programming practitioner. So I do a lot of work with people on mindset and our subconscious thinking and our patterns. And I've noticed a lot with individuals in conversations, they say that it almost feels like Groundhog Day. If anyone remembers that Bill Murray movie where it's the same day over and over. And that's really important to understand, that we can get stuck in that Groundhog Day. So on average, we have 50,000 thoughts a day, and 90 to 95% of them are a repeat from the day before. So it's these patterns that we operate within that can get us in these loops. And so it's really being aware of our thinking, being very conscious of what our thinking patterns are, is incredibly important in times of change, crisis, or pandemics. And that's been a lot of conversation I've had with people, is really navigating and managing how our thinking is, and is it really supporting us? Is it moving us forward versus is it creating us to maintain ourselves in a Groundhog Day that is not really bringing us to where we want to be or supporting our mental well-being?
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. What about Kadeen? What have you seen in your various conversations and network?
So a variety of things. I think for me, a lot of people have been misplaced unexpectedly, have had job loss, even with organizations that they've been with for 15, 20 years. So it's now navigating the new job market, and during a time when it's saturated with other top talent. So there's a lot of fear. So for me, it's a lot of working with them, doing a little bit of mindset like Cheryl, to kind of change the mindset and think about, stop worrying about the outside noise and focus in on you and your lane and your race, right? You're only competing against yourself, but it's putting together a toolkit for them now to help them project themselves as that top talent, right? So building up their confidence and their self-esteem and really figuring out, what do you want moving forward? Now you have this time to think a little bit, right? So instead of just throwing spaghetti at the wall and just applying to everything and anything under the sun, figure out what a strategic job search looks like for you purposely. So what industry, what demographic are you looking at in terms of, are you looking for a startup? Are you looking to work for a big CPG company, right? So a lot of the conversations are just around taking that moment just to pause a little bit, to really figure out what are your values, what are your motivators, right? Instead of just jumping in and applying to anything, because the worst thing that happens is when you're applying and you're not getting that value add, the return, like no one's calling, it's your self-esteem, right? And everything kind of drops down. But if you're more strategic with your search and your approach, it's a little bit more empowering to know, okay, I'm focusing on this and I'm setting myself up for job alerts for this. So a lot of it has just been conversations on what's next? What does the market look like right now? And how can I prepare myself for the job market? But people are hiring. So it's just a matter of, take this time to figure things out and come up with your, strategic job search strategy.
Yeah, I agree with that one. And I do that the same way with the business as well, right? Like a lot of people are saying the business is not moving forward, but you're really looking at it and say, well, what can I do today to prepare myself for the growth that's going to come, right? So you really prepare what's right for you and what you can do in the meantime. That's great advice. Thank you. Laura, what about you? What have you seen in your network?
Yeah, thanks, Lily. So one of the biggest things I'd say I've noticed for people is feeling a total loss of control. There's so much in our lives that's being totally dictated for us right now, right? Like we're being told how to interact with people, who we can interact with. We're being told how and when we can continue our jobs, about shopping, like everything's being told how to do and when we can do it, what we can do. And it just feels as if there's nothing that we can control anymore. We don't have control over our own lives. And the feeling as if we don't have any control is when we start to experience a total loss of self-confidence and self-esteem, just like Kadeen was talking about, right? Those things start to go downhill because we don't feel that we have any ability to do anything for ourselves because everything is being dictated. So I think one of the most important things is to figure out what you can control. And there's a lot that you can control in your life, right? We're in our own environment. We can control where we live, what we do in our own home, in our own time. We can control, and as I'll talk about a bit later, as a music therapist, one of the biggest things for me is you can control your musical environment, right? And I'll talk about some ways later about how you can use music to the best of your ability to have those therapeutic benefits and to really help you set your mindset in an appropriate way.
Yeah, I totally agree about that circle of control, right? And very often we forget that and get overwhelmed with it. And it's good. It's a good suggestion. Controls over your thoughts, even right? Thoughts, words, and actions. And these are actually quite empowering if you can recognize that and feel good about what you have control with. All right, Chelsi, what have you seen in your work and network?
So in my industry, I'd say the biggest things I've noticed throughout this pandemic so far is a loss of control for my clients, feeling like everything they've ever known is kind of just gone and having to start from scratch. I'm personally my client's main motivator. I hold them accountable, and the fact that they haven't been able to come into the facility has been really hard on them. A lot of my clients started kind of going into the scarcity mindset, thinking that they can't do anything that they were able to do before. So again, going back to the loss of control and like everything they've ever known is gone. So for me, I've been working with them through online platforms as much as I can to try and help bring them back again to themselves and refocusing on what's important to them and assessing what they have available to them so that they can continue to move forward and hold themselves accountable and really, for my type of work, move in ways that help them feel better, whether that's just going outside for a walk in nature because that's all they have available to them. But yeah, definitely a huge mindset factor for all my clients right now, kind of feeling really down and like they're going backwards and just a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, especially with the whole physical aspect too, because we're all stuck at home, not really, or for a long time we're stuck at home, not doing anything. So you end up, the quickest thing is to the fridge. You're eating more than you normally would.
My clients have gained weight, and I was offering online classes throughout the whole pandemic, and that's another part where I was seeing a scarcity mindset, a lot of clients coming up with excuses and limiting beliefs as to why they can't do exercise at home. So trying to just like reprogram that thought process to help them recognize that even if you don't have a space within your home or equipment, there's still so much that you can do. Again, going back for a walk or just doing some small exercises at home in a space that you do have available, because exercise really has a huge impact on your mindset. And when you can maintain physical activity, it really does help you feel better overall in your day-to-day.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a lot of great amount of challenges a lot of people are facing. Definitely difficult and stressful at times, I bet. So why don't we really, I think you guys all touch upon a little bit of things that people can do already, but why don't we talk about what things people can stop doing? So in other words, what behaviors or habits people should avoid doing or thinking in our lives that will keep us focused on a healthy mindset. Let's start with Kadeen on this one.
Sure. So one of the biggest things that I speak to is get rid of anything that's not serving you. So if you know that social media, too much of it isn't good for you, too much of the news and what's happening isn't good for you, remove that, right? So take it in smaller doses. And positive thoughts, positive affirmations, right? Every day is a new day. And whatever you channel out is what you're going to receive back in. So I have positive affirmations all over my office sometimes, different Post-it notes, and reaching out, right? We're not going through this alone. So feeling free to reach out to somebody else to say, oh, would you want to go for a walk? Now, because we can a little bit more. Do you want to go for a walk or have a Zoom chat with someone, right? Music. I love music. Music, I think, is fantastic, just as a mood pick-me-upper, right? So those are just a couple of things that I would suggest.
Yeah, from a career perspective, what would you recommend as well people stop doing? I think you talked about, don't just blindly apply to everything and anything that's out there.
No, networking. Use this time to network. People are more available and willing to speak to you than I think they've ever been before. And I always say that you never stop networking. Even when you're gainfully employed and you're happy, it's never a bad time to network and just meet with people. What's going on in the industry? How did you get to your job or your career? What steps did you take? Where did you go to school? What do you think about this certification course, right? What's going on in this industry, right? So networking, ask people questions, especially if it's something that you're aspiring to get to. If it's like a C-suite role or you're just looking to get some insights on things, just network, talk to people. Right?
Yeah, that is so true. And a lot of us, when we have work and in the job that we're doing, we don't think about that. Right?
Don't think about it.
Yeah, you're busy working, but networking as a whole, ongoing, should be something that you
foster. And it's right at your fingertips. LinkedIn is the greatest thing ever for professional just networking and connecting with individuals. You can get a lot of insight from people from there. Right. Even just commenting if you're not comfortable, because I find a lot of people sometimes are shy to network. But even just start commenting on something, a post that maybe someone shared or an article, right? Just commenting on it and seeing if you can engage in a conversation that way.
Thank you. Laura, what about you? What are things that you think of behaviors and habits people should really stop that is inhibiting their healthy mindset?
Yeah, I'd say one of the biggest things that I notice is the idea of focusing too much on the past or too much on the future. A healthy mindset is one that can balance focus on the past, the future, and on the here and now. We need to check in with ourselves here and now. So we don't want to be too much in the past. We need to be aware from it and learn from it, but we can't let it dominate our present, right? If we're focusing so much on the past, either wanting to change the past, wanting to be more like the past, then we can't accept where we are right now. The other thing is if you're focusing on that regret and that wish that things could change, again, I was talking earlier about the loss of control, right? We can't control the past, so let it be, right? The other thing about the future is we need to set goals. We need to know where we want to get to. But if we're so focused on what the future is going to look like, especially right now when you have no idea what the future is going to look like, right? Things can change at any time. Some people are planning for 3 different futures. Teachers, for example, I was speaking to a teacher who's planning for the idea of going full-time back to school. She also has to plan for going full-time online or part-time in each, right? So planning for so many different futures is so overwhelming. So set yourself little steps for the here and now, and check in with yourself on how you're doing right now and try and balance that future-oriented mindset, the past-oriented mindset with the here and now.
Very well said. Present, I always look at it, the word itself. Present, the other meaning is a gift, right? And we
Yeah.
often forget that. And, we're living in the past or thinking about the future too much and so overwhelming, like you said, with all the things that are changing. But really appreciating the present is a gift. Thank you. Well said. Chelsi, what about you? What do you think some habits or behaviors that we can avoid doing in our life to stay healthy in terms of mindset?
In terms of mindset, the biggest thing that I witness from my clients is telling yourself that you're not good enough, or that, yeah, you're not good enough and you won't achieve your goals. That right there, that thought alone is what will actually hold you back and prevent you from reaching your goals. And when you're in a mindset and telling yourself that, you're telling yourself that daily at that point, if that's what you're thinking. So going back to what Katie said, and really reassuring yourself by having some positive affirmations about yourself, about your goals, about where you're at and where you'd like to be, and constantly reflecting back to yourself and telling yourself good things, good positive things about yourself, and really reassuring the fact that you are capable and you are worthy. And even though you may not be where you want to be right now, you can get there. So yeah, connecting back to your thoughts and taking time to think about what you're thinking about the most, because from my experience, most of my clients that are not progressing, it's because they're telling themselves these things. I'm not good enough. I'll never get there. I've been like this my whole life. Like, I can't just change. Change is hard for everyone. It is. And in order for us to be able to go through change and come out stronger and actually reach those goals that we want, we have to take time to reaffirm ourselves, tell ourselves positive things about ourselves, so that we can become more confident in our abilities, because confidence is an inner job. It's something that you are in control of. And when you can tell yourself positive things about yourself and challenge yourself and push past things you never thought you could do, that's when you start to believe that you are worthy, you are capable, and that you can actually reach everything that you want in your life.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. Cheryl, what about you? What have you seen in your work in
So
terms of
just to
habits?
add on to what Chelsi said there, the words that we say after the statement "I am" are some of the most powerful words we can say, because it's what we are reiterating to ourselves. So like Chelsi was saying, like Katie was saying, and really just creating those affirmations. It's very important. And I find really with people, we're faced when we're faced with a situation like this, or just of significant challenge, we can do one of two things. We can either contract or expand. And by contract, I mean, you kind of, pull the covers over your head and shrink back, and you wait to see what the world is going to be handed to you as at the end. And that can be really unhealthy, but it increases fear. It increases the fear of the unknown with us. And I like to tell people that fear really only stands for false evidence appearing real. But it's this thinking that we're telling us, it's this loop, it's these constant things we're saying in our mind. But when you expand, when you allow yourself, when you say to yourself, I am going to look at this through a positive lens, you can find it. So when you expand, you use a growth mindset. You look around yourself for the positives, for the opportunities. And even if it's not what we had originally planned, because all of us started out in January saying, this is going to be our year, right? This is my year. I had some big plans. What I'm doing right now doesn't look anything like what I had planned in January, right? So I said this year is the art of the pivot. But, it's really understanding, having that behavioral flexibility to be able to move along with things. And Kadeen was talking about, what you're consuming, right? Getting rid of what is not serving you. It is so challenging to have a positive outcome if you surround yourself with negative people, negative information, and it really is releasing what is not serving you. being so careful about what you're consuming, because that is going to keep fueling these thoughts that we're having, and that will keep fueling our I am statements. So really looking at it with a growth mindset and saying, you know what, this is really uncomfortable. I think we can all admit that it's been pretty uncomfortable. And we're all navigating that, which is something that we can relate with one another right now. And, you know, Kadeen talked about networking. It's really building relationships. We have the opportunity right now to build relationships in a very different way, in a way that maybe feels less pressured at times, because we're all in a similar situation. We're all experiencing this change at the same time, which is not necessarily the norm for people that you're connecting with. So for me, it's really, we can't control everything going on around us. We can only control how we choose to view it and how we choose to respond to it and navigate through it. And it's progress over perfection. You know, you're going to be on that roller coaster, and that's okay. I had a massive meltdown trying to bake bread for the first time because I didn't have ingredients to bake bread. I'd never done it before. But it was a full-on meltdown because it was this grieving of what I had planned. It was grieving of a loss of my daughter's graduation. It was a grieving a loss of an important birthday celebration in our family. So I think it's recognizing that we have those feelings and allowing ourselves to feel them, but also encouraging ourselves to look at what opportunities are there around us on a broader scale.
Yeah, so true, so true. So many of us had big plans and big wishes this year, and you know, things just doesn't pan out that way, and it's not in our control. We kind of just go with the flow, and that's one thing I always talk about too. You know, recognizing that emotion that comes, and then just kind of go with the flow a little bit, and then let it go, right? And so that's something I recommend for people to do as well. Really looking at, you know, what are things that you can do, because like you said, there is opportunities that's out there. So looking at the business a little bit differently. How do you transform your business so that it could actually work in the current time? And a lot of us actually have discovered that being online isn't as bad as we thought it would be. It is possible. People can be productive in business still being online, right? So I think, you know, it's good to allow yourself to open up to those opportunities and try different things and find things that do work for you. So awesome. Thank you. I mean, great suggestions on what we can stop, but also a lot of suggestions on what we could actually continue to build on our healthy mindset. And obviously not all of us can work with a coach or a therapist on a constant basis. And in fact, most of us can't. So what would you say to offer? Because I mean, we see that there is a lot of potential that this can take a longer period of time to recover from. So yeah, we would like to get back to normal, but we don't even know what the normal really would be, number one, and how long we will get back to a normal of some sort of normal. What would you say, I guess, from each of your profession are some, maybe a couple of top recommendations that you would have for people to practice at home so that they don't feel lost in this long halt, right, of suffering or, you know, stress, whatever that is that they are dealing with, and in order to, you know, try different things so then they can keep motivated and positive during these times. Let's start with Laura on that question.
Sure. So I'm going to share a couple ways that you can use music to really kind of benefit and adjust that mindset and help you get to where you want to be. So one of the things I'd say, just from what the other ladies were talking about taking out the things that are negative and purging those things that aren't helping you right now. And music can be a part of that. There's so much music that can make you feel good, but there's also music that drags you down. If you're in a negative mindset and you have music that's reinforcing that, let it go. Recognize it and let it go. But also acknowledge that music that empathizes with your emotions. So if you are feeling a negative emotion right now and you play a song that just really matches how you're feeling, if you're angry, let's say, and you listen to a really angry song and that song empathizes with you and really understands how you're feeling, then that's great. That's not the music that you need to get rid of. It's the music that if you're feeling really angry and you listen to music and it makes you feel more angry, that's what you need to recognize that and let that part go, right? You need to understand how the music is affecting you in the moment. And as I was talking about control earlier, I said your musical environment is something that you can control. So you can control what you're listening to at the moment. If you're out and you're shopping and there's background music going on, obviously you can't control that. But if you're studying or you're working or you're doing chores around the house, don't just flip on the radio. Go and find a playlist or create a playlist that really has meaning for you. Make it purposeful. Make it intentional. So really find the music that connects with how you're feeling and either boosts you up or just lets you understand what's going on for you right now. And also listen with intention. Take some time, not just to have it in the background, but also spend some time, as I was talking about earlier, to connect with yourself right now. So just find a comfortable position. Don't be doing anything else. Listen to your favorite song or a song that connects with how you're feeling and just spend that time to listen to it. Most songs are only, 2.5 minutes right now? So take that 2.5 minutes out of your day, really listen to it, notice how it makes you feel, notice what the message of the song is, and just let yourself focus on it and focus on what you're feeling and take that time to do that. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. That's a great suggestion. Yeah, a lot of us don't think about that. Music is healing, right? So there's a lot of benefit in actually tuning in to music that speaks to you. Thank you for that. Chelsi, what about you in your world? What are things that you can suggest from a long-term perspective and get people to refocus?
I like the long-term perspective because there are so many things that you can do to help you feel more healthy and to actually be more healthy, so much so that it can actually be really overwhelming. So I'd like to just give one thing to do for maybe each category in mindset, fitness, and also nutrition. Starting with nutrition, with everyone being home right now, stage 3 is still open, but a lot of people aren't back to work. Try to just eat when you're hungry. A lot of people right now are overeating because the fridge is so easily accessible right now. So just eat when you're hungry, stick to whole foods, foods that you can find in nature. Mindset, for me, the strongest or most important part of my journey when it comes to mindset has been reading self-help books and journaling alongside with that. So some book recommendations maybe. There's a lot. Eckhart Tolle is a really good one. The Power of Now, The Secret. There are many books out there that you can read to help you understand how you're feeling and why. Jen Sincero, You Are a Badass. But journaling in particular, when you're thinking of journaling things that you're grateful for in your life, affirmations about yourself, things that you're grateful for within your own being. And then for physical activity, instead of stressing so much about whether you're doing enough or if you have enough weight or resistance or the activity is good enough, just get your body moving every day. And again, like I said in the last point, maybe all that looks like for you during this time is going for a walk outside in nature or doing a few stretches at home. Any form of movement will allow you to feel better. It will get your energy and endorphins a lot higher. So any type of movement is good movement. Try to move daily, eat healthy, and take time to read and journal.
Mm-hmm. Journal is actually so cool. Like I've picked up, a long time ago, I used to do it and then paused for so long and never touched it. But since I started this journey on the business and I've been really journaling, and it's helpful because you're channeling your ideas, your thoughts, but also your feelings, right? And a lot of times maybe fears that you are not really open to anyone else to talk to anyone else about, but you can talk to yourself through that journaling, and it actually is helpful to recognize it. Right? Sorry, what were you going to say?
That's okay. I love what you said about like kind of journaling as a way for you to connect to yourself and like connect back to your thoughts, because that's one thing that I believe we're not in control of is our thoughts and our emotions. But when we're able to journal and create new thoughts for ourselves, we can actually manipulate how we're thinking more regularly. So even though you still may have negative thoughts appear, they won't be as often because you're actually taking the time to change the way that you're thinking.
Right, absolutely. Because every time when you recognize and you go, okay, well, I know this is happening, so what can I do differently, right, in the next day? So super helpful. Thank you very much for that. Cheryl, what about you? What are things that you would say to, audience here to help them with the long-term effects of this COVID-19?
I like Chelsi talking about the journaling, and I have a really strong morning and evening routine. And I started off really where I am writing out 20 things I'm grateful for. And I set my intention for the day. I set my intention for working with my clients. I set my intention for my interactions with people. And because I know what it's like to struggle with, mental health, I have struggled with depression and anxiety for a lot of years after a trauma in my younger age. And it is so important to have that awareness of where you are sending your energy and what you're doing with it. So I'm very aware of my energy level. I use music, like Laura was talking about. I have my high vibe playlist on YouTube that, I can click it on and play that. I also do listen to solfeggio sounds. So different wavelength sounds, binaural sounds, things like that, that really just can play in the background, but they help to elevate our energy. They help to elevate our feeling really in a deeper way that we're not always aware of. Sometimes when our conscious mind wants to sit and listen to something, it rejects it before we allow it the opportunity to have a place with us. So one of the other things that I found really confusing with people was the word social distancing. Because I think that wording did a disservice because it wasn't social distancing, it was physical distancing. So we were still able to remain social. We just had to find new interactive ways to do that. So whether it's having a Zoom birthday, I love having game nights with friends, and we've done that over like Microsoft Teams and Zoom, and it's been fun, but it's been getting really creative. But one of the biggest things I would say too is as a 12-week year trainer, we always operate in 12-week cycles. And right now, with my clients, we've been operating in 4-week cycles. We plan in 4-week cycles, and we operate in 2 weeks. And we're constantly reviewing because things are changing so drastically. We don't always know new things that are going to come from the government. We don't know new things just as individuals as we're going through our own journey, that what our life is going to be like, or things that are going to be coming up. So bringing it down to the near term, we don't need to have it all figured out right now, right? So removing that pressure from ourselves and just treating ourselves with grace. It's that kindness that we would extend to others, and that understanding that we would extend to others. We really need to be intentionally sharing that with ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I love connecting with a lot of things you just talked about. One of the things I often tell people is build that community around yourself that will constantly lift you and inspire you to be positive, to be motivated, to continue doing what you love, right? So make sure that you're constantly looking for a source of that strength and energy. And sometimes, and let's be honest, we all get those days when we are down, right? As positive as we all are here too, I'm sure we have our down days, and we depend on those people within that network or the community or the group of friends that we trust, and we build ourselves back up together, right? So I think it's important to build that strong support system and that create that connection that's constant there. And so in the long haul, I think that is super helpful as well to ensure that, and it's very healthy structure to have in your life, so that you know that there's always somebody you can go to if you are not feeling it that day. So.
And be honest, right? The Instagram life is really overwhelming for people. And I have very much built a life that I love by design. And people will say to me, oh, it looks like you're having so much fun. But I also post that I'm like sitting in my vehicle right now crying because I'm a little overwhelmed, right? Or I'm uncertain about something else, or I'm hiding in the bathroom because my kids like won't leave me alone, right? So all of these things are real. We can be real. We can be real.
Right, right, absolutely. And it's there's a thing about I think you talk about it a lot too, with comparisons too, right? Because with social media, it's so easy to look at somebody else's beautiful life and beautiful headshots and beautiful pictures of themselves that they spent hours on.
Yeah.
And you compare that to your normal life and you're like, well, that's not how I am, and you feel depressed. And a lot of times that could actually be negatively impacting you as well. So removing yourself from what's not serving you, like you guys said earlier. If you're feeling that it's too overwhelming to be on social media, then don't. But I agree, be yourself, bring your best self out, and bring your worst self out at times, right? Thank you.
And that person that you're comparing yourself to, that you think they have it all together, they're in the bathroom crying, right? They're comparing themselves to somebody else too, right? So comparison is really just the thief of our joy. So once we can stop doing that, our level of happiness raises.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Kadeen, what about you? What do you think people can use right now as a strategy to help them in the long run?
So definitely work on your toolkit, whether it be your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, doing your research, right? So this is an amazing time right now to just figure out and assess what it is that you want. What did you have in your last role or organization that you want to bring forward, and what do you not want? What wasn't serving you, or what do you want to remove yourself from moving forward? So a lot of self-assessment, self-awareness, so that you can project that and channel that energy towards what you want moving forward.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting though, when you say self-assessment, what type of assessment are you talking about? I mean, specifically for you, maybe more career-based, like skills and all that. But
skills, knowledge, personality too as well. Yeah, personality. I've done personality assessments with some clients as well. And even just a SWOT analysis. Companies do SWOT analysis, but do one for yourself, right? What are your strengths? What are your motivators? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities or threats? And that will help you too. Like if there is a threat, not like a hard threat, but something that you can work on that maybe is a skill gap, use the time to take a course or do some research on programs, especially if you're in IT, what's going to be the biggest trend moving forward? What software systems can you learn, right? So using this time to be productive, to figure out what do I need if I do have a gap in my skill set that I can use to move forward.
Yeah, wonderful ideas. And I actually recently did a mind map for myself, really just not for me, but more for introducing me to others, my clients, and on workshops. But it's actually a really great tool. It's visually demonstrating to people what the strengths are, opportunities as well, right? But for me, I thought when I was doing it, I was learning a lot about myself and about what I am not even thinking are strengths. There are times that I didn't put something on there and I go, after when I reviewed it or when I did the introduction, I go, wait a minute, I'm missing something I really want. I'm really proud of myself, but you don't often think about it. And sometimes it actually takes somebody else to tell you that. And they'll be like, hey, this thing you can actually add into your tool sets that you are introducing yourself with. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. But it'll be good to even review your self-assessment or your mind map with someone else that you trust, and just go through it. Maybe they'll see something about you that you're really good about and you really shine through, but you didn't recognize immediately off the bat, right? So it'll be great to have that feedback as well. So, yeah, and I think some of these tools, we do it and use it in business all the time, but we don't necessarily use it for ourselves. So that's a great point, Katie. You mentioned, SWOT analysis. We do it all the time for our clients, for businesses, but we don't think about it for ourselves. But it's so useful on that basis. And go back quarterly. Like, don't just do it once and then forget about it, right? Go back on a regular basis and look at yourself, because you've now moved on and you've made strides into areas of development that now you can bring to maybe your strengths, right? And recognizing that and celebrating that is important as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much for that. So at this point, I don't know if there's any questions online as well. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat box. But I also would like to do it because we got about 10, 12 minutes left. I want to do a rapid fire round. And then this is a surprise to the other coaches and the professionals. I didn't, reveal the question from before. But what I want to know is kind of day to day in your life with your family, what are things that you have adopted since COVID-19 that you found surprisingly helpful for you? Let's start with Chelsi on that one. We haven't started.
I was just about to unmute myself too. So I guess being an entrepreneur and I just got my studio April 1st, so I've been working really hard for many years to get to this point that as much as I value my personal time, I usually fill that time that I have away from work with doing something productive still, whether it be going for hikes, going for swims, or exploring new places. So during this pandemic, a new thing that I've adopted is just taking time to do nothing and just sitting at home and just vegging around the house and not feeling guilty about it, and recognizing that it actually provides me with so much more than I would have ever thought, allows space for more creativity to flow through me, and just now recognizing that it's really important for me as a way to reset and recharge too. Something I wasn't really doing before, because working so much, when I was off, I wanted to use all my time off to go do fun things. So I was just always keeping busy. And even though it wasn't really stressful activities I was doing, it was still ways of distracting myself. Whereas now, because of this pandemic, I'm recognizing that it is really important for me to take time to do absolutely nothing and just let myself recharge that way.
Yeah, surprising how we can, enjoy our time doing absolutely nothing, right? There's so much that we can, and I found too, the quietness, you can actually hear a lot more about who you are, and, it manifests easily when you're not thinking or doing anything. Cheryl.
So for us, it's been interesting for us because we've been kind of split as a family for a little bit because my daughter's recovering from a major surgery. So our things have been more board games, but we get, so we have this big trophy, and it gets pretty competitive, let me tell you, in between us. And we've just been creating a lot of fun that way, and just dance parties in the kitchen, and just really being silly. But one of the things I used to do with my kids when they were really little was I would take them for right-left trips. And so I'd be driving, and they get to alternate turns who said what direction to go, and we go right or left, and there was no destination. And so we've even been doing that when we've just needed to get out of the house and we couldn't really go somewhere specific. It was just, let's do a right-left trip. And the conversations that we've had together, as a family, I found have been really important. And just talking a lot and just thinking big. What do we want? What would be amazing, right? What would feel so good to chase and have as our future, and just connect with each other on that and encourage one another.
What a cool trip. I mean, we're not
fun.
Going to a lot of places these days,
Yeah.
right? You're not flying away or anywhere to, beautiful destinations, but there's so much beauty around us. We can just drive around locally, but connecting with your family at the same time. That's a great idea. Kadeen, what about you?
So I'm pretty active, but life gets busy and in the way. So started to consistently, I meet with a group of girls Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we go for a jog. But being more present as well. I find that I've been on Zoom chats because I have a group of girls that we talk every Monday, 7 o'clock, and I would be distracted doing things in the background. But I've caught myself now, and I'm like, just be present. Just focus on one thing and be present. Everything else can wait. And not only just with friends, but also home. Like when I'm home, I'm here. I mean, my home office is here too, but when I'm outside of this office, it's all about being present with what's going on there. And trying to, cut that time off from how much, because I'm also an entrepreneur too. So being mindful of other people's needs, right? So I'm such a giving and serving person. I want to help everybody, but then sometimes I neglect my own family and what their needs are. So just being mindful and being more present, going for more walks. We've been doing a lot of bike riding as well too. So doing things that I normally probably wouldn't do. I find I'm doing more of that now.
Good for you. That's good. Laura, what about you?
I'd say one of the things for me that has been really helpful is setting a routine and sticking to it. And I love my being able to veg in the middle of the day and working late at night if I want to kind of switch up my schedule. But I find for me that gets to be very tiresome and not really knowing what's going on and when. So the idea of setting that routine and sticking with it. And some things that are particularly important for me are like, I go for a walk every day right after lunch. And even if I've got something pressing or I was on a roll with something that I was working on right before lunch and I want to get back to it, but I know that going for my walk right after lunch will brighten my day, will get me active. And if I don't end up doing it right after lunch, maybe it won't happen at all that day, right? Mm-hmm. So sticking to that routine and not letting those important things that I know are important to me, not letting them get pushed away by something else, and knowing that that is for me personally and it's for my mental health, and I'm going to stick with it no matter what else is coming up in the way.
Mm-hmm. So Laura, there's a question actually on this, maybe you can help with as well, in terms of a suggestion for anyone that's spending a lot of time at home with their spouse. You know, we talked about we want to connect more, but maybe some people are having too much of it. But what would we suggest at this point? Do you have any suggestions, Laura?
So don't be afraid to take time for yourself. Don't be afraid to say to your spouse, I need an hour, 15 minutes, 2 hours, however long it is, for myself. And if it's going out for a walk by yourself or sitting in a different room from your partner, and for me, listening to music, right? As a music therapist, I'm always going to suggest finding ways to use music, but there's so many things you can do. But don't be afraid to say to them that you need however much time to yourself. And a strong relationship will acknowledge that we are still individuals and we still need that time to ourselves, even though we love and truly need our partners, but we also love and truly need ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we should not be afraid to take that time for ourselves and be apart from our partner for 10 minutes, an hour, half a day, however long it needs to be for you.
That's a great suggestion. Setting boundaries. I think, you know, setting boundaries for yourself, setting boundaries for the family, and how, you know, you interact together. For me, I know when I first started working on the business, it was all the time. Like I'm in 27, you know, 27. Yes, it feels like 27 hours a day, 24/7 every day. Like, and it just doesn't stop. And to the point that the kids are like, okay, are you ever going to come up for air? And so I had to set boundaries. I set the boundary for myself, but also then for them as well. Yeah, these are hours that we work. These are hours that we can spend together. So we make sure that no matter, like, even, I know a lot of people working from home. That's another difficulty, because we end up, it's so easy to go to work, right? Mm-hmm. We end up dealing with the work constantly because it's, you know, coming in and we're dealing with it immediately. So set boundaries on that as well. You know, the hours that you should be working, set boundaries on that. The hours you want to spend with your family, you know, make an agreement and set boundaries on that, and stay consistent. And like what Laura was saying earlier, to stay consistent to that. I've now, since, you know, the pandemic, slowly transitioned to, you know what, I'm going to start taking weekends. I can't be doing this 24/7 every day for years to come. So weekends are non-negotiable. And so if you're working from home, same thing. You know, if you have certain workday hours, beyond that, make a rule for yourself that you're staying put and basically giving yourself that time to relax, shut down, and be with your family as well. Okay. Okay, I'm just reading some other things on the other side coin. Okay. Yeah, and there's just so this one says, I find myself shrinking after working so hard that create a social media after retirement. I'm a bubble of one. Oh yeah. So what about somebody is a bubble of one? Like they're just kind of on their own. Their connection is shrunk significantly. Anyone want to take that one?
Sure, I'll go with that one because I have some friends that are actually navigating that, and they've at first they were like, this is glorious, right? Because they slowed down and stuff, but then really struggled because it's been very isolating. Get creative, find ways that you can. I know now that they're allowing people to be in closer proximity, or you can expand your bubble a little bit, go for walks or whatever it is that you can do. But they were having their girls' night, drink nights, and have those conversations, create the way to still have that connection, and try to stay as consistent to a normal routine as you can. If you worked outside of the home before, get up in the morning, get dressed like you would, try to keep your work day to the same time frame, and then create something fun to look forward to in the evening, whether it's a bath, it's a favorite show that you want to watch, just anything that you enjoy. Try to create something to be looking forward to, and then share that out with your friends. Still connect with them. It's really about even being more intentional with your connections with them right now.
If I can just add to that as well. I know a lot of people, the same thing. I have a lot of single friends that are trying to navigate as well. And one of the things that they've been doing is a lot of spring cleaning, a lot of decluttering, and just even connecting with some individuals, again, on Zoom on a regular, consistent basis. So they have set days and times that they can look forward to. So that's also something to look forward to. Do DIY projects as well are another hot things that a lot of my friends are doing. They're makeshift projects in their homes to keep themselves busy. So.
Yeah, it's super important to really find the hobby that keeps you going, and also to find that a group of people that may share the same hobby. And that may be a group, if you're a bubble of one, maybe you can then increase your bubble through that community as well. Okay, so I think we are hitting 1 o'clock, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much, ladies, for such a great hour of discussion on the healthy mindset, and thank you for sharing so many different strategies people can try. Again, I'm gonna promote that everyone try different things, try whatever works for you, and if one thing doesn't work, get on to the next one. We were able to give you a lot of different strategies, so try until you get something that works for you. And then thank you for tuning in today, and hope you really enjoyed the session and found it useful. Our next session is Ignite Our Inner Sparks session with a workshop from our Chelsi Rodriguez, and online right now. She will actually be conducting that Tuesday 25th, also during lunch hours. And more details will follow on that. Of course, you guys, anyone can actually visit ourinnersparks.com anytime to discover more about all the programs that we offer and the upcoming events. So we'll be listing details on that as well. But also, if you want to connect with any of our guests today, our website also consists of all of their contact information as well. So that's, again, ourinnersparks.com. If you've left your email with Veronica or myself, I'll be in touch to answer any inquiries that you may have. If there are any questions that's here that we haven't answered yet, we will also try to address that online over email as well. So if anyone wants to email us, you can also feel welcome to email us at ourinnersparks@gmail.com. Thanks again, Veronica. Thank you. And as well as Idea Exchange for hosting this event for us. And take care, everybody, and see you next time. Thanks, ladies.